Okay, what we have here is a General Electric black and white television set from 1980. It does not have the original knobs anymore. The original knobs broke, and the VHF knob, as you can see, has been replaced with one from probably an older television set. And you can see there's also some wear right here where the on-off switch is. This TV here, turn around and get a look at the back. This is a model. If we can just zoom the camera in, tilt it down, and zoom it in on that. But anyway, it's a GE model number 15XB9212W. Tilt that up there so I can get a closer look at it. The General Electric 15XB9212W, made by General Electric at College Park, Portsmouth, Virginia. That's in the USA, by the way. This television was made in the United States of America. Probably one of the last domestically made televisions, but it was. And it's been very reliable. It's approaching 40 years old. It still works. We're going to turn it on. Let's take a look at it. As you can see, it's got the normal kind of back panel that you would see on a television of this vintage. You can look right here. You've got your standard 300 ohm connection terminals here. Young kids today won't recognize this as the type of connection that you would see on a television. But all TVs in the 70s had connections like this, 70s and 80s. Up until the mid 80s, they started to put coaxial connections on the sets. Got to adjust this camera just a little bit here where it's not sideways. Okay. But anyway, these are what you call 300 ohm flat lead connections. As you can see, there's an old piece of flat lead right there that has just been chopped off. And then these little wires that come out and connect here, these connect the internal telescoping antenna. The rabbit ear, it doesn't have two, it just has one. It connects that to the terminal. So when you hook it up to an external outside antenna or to some other input source, you disconnect these. And you have to have, in order to connect it up to a video cassette recorder, which is what I'm going to do today, if this video cassette recorder will work for me. I actually have one. This one has a, this unit over here has a mid-2000s, early 2000s vintage. And I believe the DVD player is not working right in it, but I think the VHS player may still work in this. I'm going to try it. And just digging around out there, this type of thing will not connect to this TV without some sort of adaptation. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this cable here, which is much newer than the set. As you can see, this cable here has both types of connectors on it. It has the 75 ohm coax connector, like modern, well, modern TVs really don't use analog anymore, but TVs made after this one used the 75 ohm coaxial connector like this here. But this particular cable actually is an old one that's made, and it's got the 300 ohm flat lead adapter. And what we're going to do is we're just going to fasten it to those terminals, and then we're going to try to see if this VCR works. Yeah, okay. So back this right out here. Turn this back around where we can see the front again. We'll go over the TV just a little bit here. just a little bit closer here so we can see what's going on with this. You have your VHF selector knob. UHF selector knob would go here, and you can see this obviously is not right. The knob is still there, but the center knob is gone, and this, I hope you can see that, actually has the UHF channel numbers are stenciled onto this little plastic ring. And the UHF, what I mean when I say UHF channel numbers, TVs used to have two different knobs. They had a VHF knob, which selected channels 2 through 13, which are transmitted on very high frequency radio waves. And then they had a separate tuner that received channels 14 through, there used to be, you can see when this set was made, there was 83 TV channels possible, because its highest setting was 83. And those were known as UHF channels because they were transmitted on ultra high frequency waves from about 400 and something up to 800 megahertz. In the mid 80s, late 80s, all of these channels here from 70 through 83 were taken away from television broadcasting by the Federal Communications Commission and allocated to cellular telephone towers. So after that there were only 69 TV channels, or 68 actually, because they start with 2. Okay, we're going to plug this set in here and see if it works. I had it on the other day and it was working, so I don't see any reason why it wouldn't. Just going to get this out and plug it into the wall. You can see it's got a pretty modern cord. I mean, it's not it's molded, got a molded plastic connector and everything, pretty much like a modern set would have. I always wondered why it had this little feature here. I wondered that from the time I was a kid, why it had it. It looks like a screw, but it's not. Okay, I'll plug that in. Let's see, we're just gonna. This is the on-off switch. It's one of the few TVs I've ever seen that actually has a separate on-off. Volume control was turned all the way up. Actually has a separate on-off switch. It's not made into the volume control or anything else. It's just just an on-off switch. So that's kind of interesting. Most televisions of this vintage would have it made to where that the power would be turned on by rotating the volume control or pulling the volume control. Those were both pretty common setups on these televisions that obviously don't have remote control. The volume control is getting a little scratchy, but it's not too bad. And of course, this is your brightness and your contrast. And on the back, there's a vertical hold and horizontal hold. Now you can see we actually have one low-power UHF station in this area that still actually broadcasts in analog on channel 50, and it's a very low power local station, so it does not provide a real good picture, even though we're only about 5 miles from the transmitter. But it's hilly terrain, so that blocks the signal a little bit. Okay, I'm going to turn this off and try to hook this VCR. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to connect the cable to the TV, and it has to be connected to the VHF terminal. I believe that's going to be the bottom one. Okay, I'm going to connect this. My camera's starting to get kind of low on power. I think the bottom one is VHF. So I'm going to loosen those two flathead screws there and get this old old piece of flat lead out of there. In fact, I don't know. We might even just be able to leave that flat lead on there. I don't know. Probably ought to be clean those terminals a little there, but these old flat leads, we were not unhappy to leave those in the past, I'm going to tell you, because they would strip out and they would move it around a little bit and the little copper wires would break off. And boy, everybody wanted cable. That was the thing to have when this television set was new, was to have cable. Nobody had satellites yet. They were way too expensive and took up half your backyard. Okay, so we've attached, hopefully those are the VHF. I think there used to be a sticker or something there that told you which one was which. But if we have it connected to the UHF connectors, it won't work, so we'll have to move it. But we're going to hook this to the back of the video cassette recorder here. I'm just going to put this right up here. And you can see, I'll pan back out from this, whoops, from this apparatus here, and you can see we're going to hook it up to the RF output of a DVD VHS unit. And hopefully the VHS, and by the way, this has, you can probably see that this has, of course the unit has video outputs, but we can't use those with this TV because it does not have any video inputs anywhere on it at all. Because back when this TV was designed, probably in the mid-70s, they weren't really, by the time this TV was made, it was one of the very last black and white sets. The only black and white sets that were really made too long after this one were little small portable ones. This is a 15-inch. This is one of the last black and white sets probably made. They weren't doing a whole lot of upgrading on the circuitry, and in fact, if you bought a TV in 1980, a color TV in 1980, chances are it didn't have video inputs either, because not very many people had video game systems and things like that back then. And most video game systems, like the Atari 2600, which would have been a contemporary of this television set, would have had a connector like this on the back. So you would have had a little cable that came to it with a pair of wires to hook up like this instead of a coax. Okay, so let's just spin this bad puppy around and hook up the video thing, and we'll have to get a tape and see if it works. Okay. Okay, I've had better luck with VHS tapes. This is for your information, for you younger folks that never really had to deal much with these type of things. This is why they invented DVDs. Yeah. Okay. Well, as you can see, I tried two different tapes, and the forehead VCR has not been fed in a long time, so apparently it's taken up eating tapes. And the DVD player has a problem. Obviously, we've reached the screen here that says disk error, and I don't think it's going to do anything. But as you can see, you can hook a thing up to it. You can see the background there with the CDs. It's powering up, but it's not going to play the disc, I don't think. But as you can see, the 1980 model General Electric black and white television still going pretty strong. That picture tube is still good and bright. The picture really from this thing is not real clear like I would have expected it to have been, but those terminals on the back they need to be cleaned a little bit, and this DVD unit does not work anymore. And it's the only one I have that has an actual RF radio frequency output. Of course, most modern DVD players don't have an RF output at all. This one was made just shortly before the transition to digital This one was made just a few years before the transition to digital, so it actually still has an RF output, but it doesn't work anymore. It eats tapes and doesn't play DVDs. But as you can see, the 80 model set, is still chugging along. Hadn't been used much in the last 20 years, but in the first 10 years of its life, it was used a lot. So it's got some hours on it, and it's still functional as a TV set. Okay, all right. That's the General Electric TV set. Got that brand new Christmas of 1980. Thanks for watching. Well, wonders never cease. Actually got the VHS player up and running. Apparently the reel that unspools while it's the mechanism that operates the reel that unspools while it's playing was a little seized up there, and I managed to activate the tape transport mechanism without a tape in it and get it into rewind mode and loosened it up a little bit. So as you can see, I'll try, I don't think you can do pause without the remote, but it is playing a VHS tape, and we got a picture.